Hello everyone! So, I wanted to make a video just about a guide to how to efficiently manage your gear, especially as a free-to-play player where you have to be very careful to micromanage your resources and make sure you're not blasting your resources away in inefficient ways. Now, this is a game where you can very easily waste materials on chasing inefficient stat gains and, for example, recasting when you're gonna very soon get a new tier of gear or something like that. So I just want to run through some of the best practices specifically for free-to-play players when you do have somewhat limited access to your resources in order to make sure you don't make any costly mistakes and always have the best approach when it comes to gearing up, because you do get quite a lot of new gear as you level up through the game, especially in the early stages as we are now. In pre-class change and into class change 1, you will be getting higher level gear very often, and it can get quickly overwhelming if you think, oh my god, every day I have to recast all my stuff, oh what am I gonna do? Now, the first important tip that I can give you is, especially this applies more so in pre-class change, and that is be very careful with spamming your recasts. So you have this material here, raw material, and your rate at which you're getting higher level tiers of gear in the pre-class change is very rapid. In fact, there will be some cases where you unlock a rift and then unlock the next rift the very next day. And this continues. It slows down a little bit once you get into class change 1, and then, again into class change 2, it'll slow down a little more, giving you a little more leeway to collect better items within a certain tier before, having to go to the next tier and basically replacing all those items and all the recasts that you did. So the best way to approach this is, if you're in the early levels, I would say as long as the item has roughly the stats that you're aiming for, then don't just ultimately keep spam recasting. Like, if you have level 3 or higher of the stats that you're aiming for, that's probably going to do you just fine. And if you get lucky and you get 4s and 5s, then that's great, but you don't have to spam recast in the early stages. For example, pre-class change, I would say just do a little bit of recasting until you get at least, ideally you'd get 3 of the offensive stats you're looking for, but if you get 2 out of 3, let's say you got 2 out of 3 at level 5 and then a third stat that's slightly less optimal at level 3 or 4, that's totally fine as well, if you see my point. It doesn't have to be all 3 stats, as long as you're getting some of what you need. And then once you unlock icicle gear in the class change 1, then you can spend a little more time recasting, but even then, you have to understand recasting doesn't just cost raw material, it also costs gold, which is a bottleneck, and the cost goes up and up and up. So the best thing to do is again, you have the daily access to rifts, use all your daily stamina, and if you are, like I've said in my my guide to how to optimize your stellarite usage, if you are getting, for example, the monthly pass or the Astro Companion, you will find yourself with enough stellarite to also purchase the 3 additional rift runs per day. But if you're not purchasing those, then I would probably not do all 3 extra rift stamina purchases. But even then, try to avoid blowing all your gold and raw materials recasting, and just aim for a good solid level. Now, the next thing to do is you have to be very careful as you prioritize your enhancing. The reason is because you will find yourself bottlenecked by this Black Ash promotion stone. So the best way to approach this is, especially if you're a DPS, now tanks might have a slightly different priority, but be very careful, because you will, if you, in the early stages, you'll be able to just click that enhance all button and just go for it, because you're going to have enough materials to enhance your entire set. But as you start to get higher and higher into these levels, you will find you very quickly run out of this promotion material, and it's going to cost a lot of gold as well. So when you get to this point, especially as a free-to-play player, but this advice applies to everyone if I'm being honest, you should prioritize enhancing only the gear that gives offensive stats. So in this set of gear here, you have 3 pieces you should focus on. That is the weapon, which gives attack, the ring, which gives attack, and your gloves, which gives attack. So when you're faced with this shortage of this Black Ash promotion stone and all the gold it's consuming, you should only prioritize these three, and then when you finally reach a point where you have plenty of materials, then you can bring up the rest of your defensive gear behind your main three offensive items. In fact, in the other versions of the game, in the Taiwanese and other versions of the game, they have a running joke in the community that the enhance all button is also known as the bankruptcy button, because the quick enhance button is known as the bankruptcy button because that's what it does. It eats all your gold, it eats all your materials, and it's going to blast them away in order, and you're going to find yourself getting increases in stats that you don't necessarily need to increase your damage output and allow you to clear better, faster, etc. So, very important. Do not blast, do not unnecessarily spam the quick enhance button. Focus your enhancing on the weapon slot, ring slot, and glove slot, and that will be a good way to preserve those materials. Now, there are going to be some cases, like I said. Now, let me just say, when it comes to your defensive recasts, again, you don't really want to be spending your recasting gold and raw materials on your defensive items unnecessarily. Again, if you're a tank, you would be doing that. But as a DPS, you just don't want to be doing that because of how costly the recasting is. But you should be aiming to have at least one or two of the important stats as a DPS, which would be certainly evasion and endurance. Block is okay. HP is pretty good. But evasion and endurance are probably your two most important stats as a damage dealer, especially endurance. As you start doing harder content, having a bit of endurance is going to lessen the damage you take from AoE attacks and make it easier for the tank and the healer to keep you alive. So when you're looking at your defensive gear, maybe you got like 4 different boots that dropped. Prioritize, don't waste all your recasting material on it, but if you see one that has like level 1 defense, level 3 evasion, and level 5 endurance, go for that one, because that endurance is going to go a long way for you. Now, I think, let me just think if there's anything else that's worth mentioning. I think that's basically it. Like, the thing that I have to say again, a lot of this really does apply mostly in the early game, because like I said, as you get into higher levels, higher class changes, we're going to start seeing a longer duration between rift levels that allows you to spend more time refining your gear before the next tier unlocks. So then you'll start to build a surplus of recasting materials, you can start to build up a little more gold in your stocks, and you can start recasting to more specific things. And another thing to keep in mind, and this is very important, and you need to keep this always in mind, is one of the best ways to approach getting your optimal stats is to get to a comfortable level with your gear, with, out blasting all your recasting material away that you're happy with, and then go to your Melamon and unequip all of your moves completely. Unequip all of your moves on all 3 of your Melamon, and then go look at your raw stats as they sit from these sources that you have. And then, understanding the raw stats you have from the recasting you've done, then you can go and start equipping Melamon moves that you need in order to bridge the gap between your stats. So maybe with all your Melamon moves equipped, maybe you'll find that you have 29% crit and 35% determination. And great, okay, I'm going to go to my moves and I'm going to plunk a crit chance on here. I'm going to plunk another crit chance here. So then you go back and say, okay, great. Now I'm 35, but I only have 12% haste. Great, let me go here and add a bit of haste. So that's the best way to approach it. You get the best level of recast here, and then you go and you fill the gaps with your Melamon moves. That's why, people have asked, what's the best in slot Melamon moves? There's not really a best in slot Melamon moves. There is a best in slot. The best in slot Melamon moves are the ones that give you the target stats for your class, for your character. That's the best in slot for you. So I hope this video helps a little bit and just reinforces, to be a little bit frugal when it comes to your recasting material and your upgrade process, especially in the early game. Save it for icicle gear, even start saving for the class change 2 gear when you're going to have much longer duration in between unlocking higher tiers of rifts. Be very, very cautious with the quick enhance button. I know it's a pleasurable thing to see and click and see everything enhance itself and go, yay, everything's enhanced. But as you start to get into these higher tiers of gear, you're going to want to prioritize only enhancing your weapon, your ring, and your gloves. So that's it, just a short guide to some priorities when it comes to how to approach your gear. I hope you found this helpful. If you have any further questions, please leave in the comment section down below. If you like the video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit that notification bell so you know when the next video is uploaded. And join the Discord if you haven't already. I look forward to seeing you all there. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!